When a health alert puts the future of Christmas at risk, Santa Claus decides to make a radical change: intermittent fasting. However, his decision shakes the traditions of the North Pole, creating conflicts with the reindeer, elves, and even with children around the world. With the help of Maggie, a visionary elf nutritionist, and facing the resistance of his loyal companion Rudolph, Santa embarks on a journey to balance his health with the Christmas spirit. Amidst challenges and discoveries, he proves that taking care of oneself is an act of love, and that the true magic of Christmas is not in the cookies, but in the joy we share. A story of renewal, unity, and evolution that illuminates the heart of the world's greatest tradition. The North Pole was livelier than ever. Santa's workshop buzzed with the sound of elf gears, the clinking of hammers, and the jingling of bells. Santa walked through the hallways with his unmistakable laugh, handing out words of encouragement as he supervised preparations for Christmas. However, amidst all the joy, something felt different that year. In Dr. Frost's consultation room, the atmosphere was a stark contrast. The penguin doctor, wearing a pristine white lab coat, held a scroll with numbers and charts detailing Santa's health. He adjusted his round glasses before looking at the jolly man with a serious expression. "Santa, this is no joke," Dr. Frost began, pointing to the data on the scroll. "Your cholesterol is out of control, and your glucose levels are alarming. If you don't change your routine, you risk not being here next Christmas." Santa tried to laugh, but the concern in Frost's eyes made him swallow the joke. He looked at his calloused hands and then at his reflection in one of the room's windows, where his figure seemed more tired than he would like to admit. "So, what do you suggest?" he asked, a hint of vulnerability in his voice. At that moment, Maggie, a young elf nutritionist with short hair and a tablet in hand, entered the room with firm steps. Her enthusiasm contrasted with the serious tone of Frost. "Good morning, Santa," she said, smiling. "I have an idea that might help. Have you heard of intermittent fasting?" Santa furrowed his brow. "Fasting? You mean not eating? How am I supposed to lead Christmas without my cookies and milk?" Maggie laughed, but her explanation was clear and direct. "It's not about not eating, but reorganizing your meals so your body has time to rest and recover. This can improve your energy and even extend your life." Frost nodded firmly. "It's either that or face severe consequences, Santa." Santa looked at his reflection again, this time with more determination. "If it means I can guarantee more Christmases in the future, I'll give it a try." The next day, Santa announced his decision to the team in a general meeting in the workshop's main room. The space was decorated with twinkling lights and garlands, but the mood quickly changed when he began to speak. "Friends, I've made a decision to ensure I can continue leading Christmas for many years to come. I'm changing my diet and routine to take better care of my health." Murmurs started immediately. Timmy, one of the older and grumpier elves, raised his hand impatiently. "What does this mean for us? No cookies? No milk? This isn't Christmas." Rudolph, who was at the back, stretched his neck and stepped forward. "Santa, with all due respect, cookies and milk are more than just food. They're a symbol of Christmas. Without them, what's left?" Santa took a deep breath, feeling the weight of Rudolph's words. Maggie stepped up beside him and showed a chart on the tablet. "We understand your concerns, but this isn't the end of the tradition. It's an evolution. Santa is still the same, but we need to make sure he's healthy to continue spreading the magic of Christmas." Despite the explanations, resistance was palpable. Rudolph left the meeting with his head down, followed by a few younger reindeer. Santa realized that, although he had support from some, others were still doubtful. That night, Santa began his new routine. Maggie prepared a balanced meal with vegetables, proteins, and a cup of green tea. He looked at the plate with a mix of curiosity and apprehension. "Is this going to replace my cookies and milk?" he asked, trying to sound optimistic. "Just for now. It'll be worth it, Santa," Maggie said with an encouraging smile. However, as he chewed the leafy greens, Santa felt a pang of longing. He wondered if he was really doing the right thing or if he was losing an essential part of who he was. The changes in Santa's routine soon reverberated throughout the workshop, creating a domino effect that no one could have predicted. Maggie, trying to align Santa's meal times with the elves' production schedule, adjusted their work breaks. This meant fewer snacks during the day and longer breaks for full meals. In the kitchen, Timmy stared at a bowl of cookie dough with dismay. "This doesn't even look like real cookies. No sugar, no butter. What's the point?" he grumbled, throwing the wooden spoon into the sink. Ellie, a young elf known for her optimism, tried to calm things down. "Think of it this way, Timmy. We're helping Santa stay healthy. A healthy Santa means more Christmases." But Ellie's argument didn't convince Timmy, nor the other elves, who muttered as they adjusted toys on the conveyor belts. The lack of cookies and treats seemed to drain the Christmas spirit from the workshop. Meanwhile, Santa faced personal challenges. During the afternoon, the smell of hot chocolate coming from the kitchen made him stop for a moment and take a deep breath, trying to resist the temptation. He closed his eyes and reminded himself of the promise he made, to ensure many more Christmases in the future. "You can do this, Santa," he murmured to himself as he continued his way. However, the difficulties began to accumulate. Rudolph, who had already expressed his concerns, started organizing small meetings with other team members. "He's taking the heart out of Christmas. Without the cookies and milk, what's left?" Rudolph questioned during one of these meetings. Dasher, who usually remained neutral, hesitated before responding. "Santa's always been our leader. I think we need to trust him." But the division within the team was evident. Santa felt the growing weight of the resistance, and doubt began to seep into his thoughts. As the internal chaos intensified, the outside world began to notice the changes at the North Pole. News of Santa's new routine leaked to the magical press, and sensational headlines began to emerge. "Santa adopts fasting. The end of the cookie era? Is the jolly old man changing forever?" In the correspondence office, the avalanche of letters increased. Some children supported the decision. "Dear Santa, I'm so glad you're taking care of your health. I'm going to try to eat better too," wrote Lucy, age 8. But others expressed concern. "Santa, are you still going to eat the cookies I left for you? They're my favorite." Santa read each letter carefully. Some made him smile, but others filled him with doubt. He felt the weight of his decision grow even heavier. Maybe I've gone too far," Santa said to Maggie, holding a pile of letters. Maggie, noticing the tension, sat beside him. "Santa, change is hard, especially for someone as beloved and traditional as you. But remember, what the children love is who you are, not what you eat." Despite Maggie's encouraging words, the pressure remained. On a popular reindeer radio show, the host commented, "If Santa is changing all this, what else will disappear? Are the presents next?" Santa knew he needed to double his efforts to prove that his transformation wasn't destroying Christmas, but strengthening it. Still, the conflict between tradition and modernity seemed harder to resolve by the day. Santa was in his private room, surrounded by piles of letters sent by children. He read each one carefully, trying to find a spark of clarity amidst the whirlwind of emotions consuming him. Among the letters, one caught his attention. It was written in childish handwriting, full of ink stains and little scribbles. "Dear Santa, I don't want toys this year. I want you to live a long time so you can keep visiting my house. Christmas wouldn't be the same without you." Santa held the letter for a moment, his gaze fixed on the simple yet powerful words. The message touched something deep within him, rekindling the determination that had begun to falter. "That's it," Santa exclaimed, suddenly standing up. Maggie, who had been quietly working in the corner of the room, jumped at his shout. "What is it, Santa?" "It's not about the cookies or the traditions. It's about what Christmas represents. The children don't want me to be perfect. They want me to be here." Maggie smiled, already imagining where this conversation would lead. "And how are we going to show that to the world?" Santa began pacing back and forth as ideas sprang to mind. "We'll use Christmas to teach something new. We'll include a personalized message with each gift, explaining that taking care of yourself is also an act of love. Santa immediately called for a meeting with the elves and reindeer. In the main hall, decorated with garlands and twinkling lights, he explained his idea with renewed enthusiasm. This year, in addition to the presents, every child will receive a special message. Something that shows taking care of oneself and others is the greatest gift we can give. Despite some skeptical looks, many began to get excited about the idea. Maggie took the lead in organizing, and the elves began adjusting the production lines to include the messages. But Santa knew there was still resistance. He noticed Rudolph's absence from the meeting and knew he would have to deal with the opposition from his most trusted reindeer. As Christmas Eve approached, the North Pole buzzed with preparations. The elves worked tirelessly to ensure the presents and messages would be ready on time. Santa, though disciplined in his new routine, began to feel the physical and emotional effects of the changes. During a flight training session, a wave of weakness hit him. The sleigh, loaded with test boxes, swayed dangerously as Santa briefly lost control. "Santa, are you okay?" Dasher shouted as the reindeer slowed down. "I'm fine. Just need a moment." Santa gripped the reins tightly, trying to catch his breath. On the ground, Rudolph watched the scene with a dark expression. As soon as Santa got off the sleigh, Rudolph approached, determined to confront him. "With all due respect, Santa, you don't seem strong enough to lead tonight. How do you expect to save Christmas this way?" The words were a blow. Santa, trying to keep his composure, responded calmly. "I'm doing the best I can, Rudolph. This isn't easy for me either." Rudolph shook his head, frustrated. "Sometimes it feels like you're more concerned about your transformation than what Christmas really means." The silence that followed was heavy. Santa, feeling shaken, withdrew to his room, where he sat alone, looking at a portrait from a past Christmas. "Am I losing the essence of what it means to be Santa?" he murmured to himself. Shortly after, Maggie entered the room, noticing Santa's dejection. She sat beside him and placed a hand on his shoulder. "Santa, change is hard, especially for someone who carries so much on his shoulders. But remember, what matters is not what you eat or how you look. What matters is the love and joy you spread." Although Maggie's words brought some comfort, Santa knew that the rift at the North Pole needed to be resolved before Christmas could truly be saved. The next morning, Santa woke up with renewed clarity. He knew he couldn't ignore the growing tensions at the North Pole. If he wanted to lead his team and rescue the Christmas spirit, he would need to take decisive action. He called Maggie and the elves to a meeting in the planning room. On the table, a detailed map of the world was spread out, and Santa, with restored energy, began to draw up a plan. "This year, in addition to delivering presents, we're going to deliver a message that will inspire children and their families," Santa began. "I want every gift to come with a letter explaining my journey and showing that taking care of yourself is essential to taking care of others." Maggie smiled and nodded. "We can adapt the messages for each region, including healthy habits that are simple and easy to follow." The elves immediately got to work, adjusting the production lines to include the messages. Meanwhile, Santa knew he had another issue to address: convincing Rudolph. He found the reindeer in the stable, organizing the other members of the flight team. As he approached, Rudolph lifted his head, cautious. "Can we talk, Rudolph?" Santa asked. "I'm listening," the reindeer replied, his tone still filled with doubt. "I know you don't agree with everything that's happening, but I want you to know that it was never my intention to change what Christmas represents. The essence of Christmas is bringing joy to children, and that hasn't changed." Santa paused, looking into Rudolph's eyes. "You're an essential part of this mission. I can't do it without you." Rudolph, visibly moved by the words, still hesitated. "I just want to make sure we're not losing what makes Christmas special." Santa placed a hand on Rudolph's shoulder. "What makes Christmas special is us. The team, the unity, and the message we carry. Trust me." After a moment of reflection, Rudolph finally nodded. "I'm with you, Santa." The tension that had hung over the North Pole began to dissipate. The team felt the change and resumed preparations with renewed enthusiasm. Christmas Eve arrived, and the energy at the North Pole was palpable. The sleigh was loaded, not only with presents but with the personalized messages that Santa and Maggie had planned. Santa, wearing his red suit tailored to his new silhouette, climbed into the sleigh with confidence. Rudolph led the reindeer with pride, and Maggie supervised everything from the ground, ensuring every detail was in place. As they flew over the first town, Santa looked at the lit houses and felt a mix of nervousness and excitement. He landed at the first stop and left the gift with a special message. Taking care of yourself is an act of love. The spirit of Christmas is in how you share joy with others. He watched through the window as the child, with eyes shining with excitement, opened the gift and read the message with their family. Santa smiled, feeling that his mission was being fulfilled. Door after door, the reactions were similar. The children understood the message, and some even left notes beside the cookies. One of them read, "Thank you for reminding us what matters, Santa. We love you." However, the journey was not without its challenges. During one delivery, a gust of wind nearly threw the sleigh off course, and Rudolph had to use all his skill to stabilize it. "Good job, Rudolph," Santa shouted. "We're all in this together, Santa," replied the reindeer with determination. Upon completing the final delivery, Santa felt a deep satisfaction. Although this Christmas had been different, he knew it had been one of the most meaningful of his life. The North Pole had transformed, but the spirit of Christmas remained stronger than ever. The day after Christmas Eve dawned calm, but the North Pole was in celebration. The reindeer rested peacefully in the stable, while the elves, exhausted but radiant, shared stories and laughter in the workshop. The atmosphere was light, a stark contrast to the tensions that had marked the previous weeks. In the correspondence room, the avalanche of letters began arriving. Maggie, with her tablet in hand, led a team of elves who read and organized the responses from the children. Some letters moved everyone in the room. "Dear Santa, my family loved the message. We decided we're going to start taking walks together every Sunday. You inspired us." Another said, "Thank you for reminding us to take care of those we love, Santa. This was the best gift of all." Santa entered the room and stood beside Maggie, who handed him one of the most touching letters. He read it in silence, feeling a wave of satisfaction and emotion. "This is it, Maggie. The spirit of Christmas isn't in the cookies or traditions, but in what we were able to share with the children and their families." In the workshop, Timmy, the grumpiest elf, surprised everyone by proudly displaying a drawing made by a child. It showed a modern, healthy sleigh with Santa holding a cup of tea instead of milk. "I guess it wasn't so bad after all," Timmy admitted with a shy smile. As he walked through the workshop, Santa found Rudolph, who was watching the younger reindeer playing in the snow. "Thank you for trusting me, Rudolph. I know it was hard in the beginning." Rudolph shook his head. "You proved that Christmas is more than just traditions. It's about unity, generosity, and purpose, and that will never change." They exchanged a knowing look, and Santa felt that the North Pole was finally in harmony. With Christmas complete, Santa had a rare moment of silence in his private room. He sat in his favorite armchair, holding a cup of hot tea, and contemplated a picture from a past Christmas. In the image, he appeared larger and more tired, but his smile remained the same. Now, he felt lighter in every sense. He grabbed a notebook and began writing his resolutions for the next year. At the top of the list, he wrote, "Continue inspiring the world to take care of itself, without losing the magic of Christmas." In the hallway, he heard Maggie's voice, gathering the elves to discuss ideas for next Christmas. He walked to the workshop and observed as she presented suggestions. "We could create interactive guides for the children, with fun recipes and activities that encourage health and family connection," Maggie said enthusiastically. The elves agreed excitedly, and Santa, smiling from the back, felt immense gratitude for his team. He stepped forward and made one final statement. "This was a different Christmas, but you helped make it even more special. Together, we will continue showing the world that Christmas is not just one day, but a feeling we carry throughout the year." As the sun set on the frozen horizon, Santa felt that this Christmas had marked a new beginning. The traditions had evolved, but the heart of Christmas remained intact. With a sparkle in his eyes, he looked at his team and declared, "Merry Christmas to all. May the coming year bring even more reasons for us to smile together." At the North Pole and around the world, the message was clear. Change can be hard, but when done with love and purpose, it can transform lives.